My name is Eleanor Vance. I'm 81 years old, and I have a plan to die in my own home. My children think that's a problem. You see, they've picked out a nice nursing home for me. They leave the brochures right on my kitchen table. It's called Sunset Haven. It looks like a nice hotel, but to me, it looks like a prison sentence. My husband, Arthur, has been gone 5 years. This house is all I have left of our life. So I decided to fight. And my first move was to hire a contractor I couldn't afford. Let me tell you what happened. It started at the hardware store. I saw this young man looking at pipe fittings. He had calloused hands and quiet eyes. His name was Leo. I showed him the drawings I'd made myself, late at night on the computer. A small elevator for the old closet. A bathroom you could hose down. He looked at my messy sketches and just nodded. He said, "We can do that." He started work the next week. My daughter Sarah came over and saw the hole in the wall. She said, "Mom, what is this? You can't just remodel for this." I told her I was updating. She didn't understand. I was building a fortress. Then I fell. A stupid rug. I ended up in the hospital. It was all bright lights and beeping. A nice lady with a clipboard came in. She said, "Mrs. Vance, living alone may no longer be viable." Viable. Like I was a broken appliance. My son David flew in. He sat by my bed and talked softly about assisted living. He said it was like a nice hotel. I looked at my own son and I felt terrified. So I did something drastic. I signed the papers to leave against the doctor's advice. Leo picked me up in his beat-up truck. He didn't ask questions. He just helped me in. That silence was the best thing anyone could have given me. Back home, I called a family meeting. I served tea. I had charts. I called it my Aging in Place initiative. David talked about liability. Sarah cried about me falling again. But my granddaughter, Chloe, she's 22 and studying social work. She leaned forward. She said, "Tell me about the wet room, Gran." She got it. She saw a plan, not just a tantrum. We made a deal. They'd stop fighting the remodel if I tried a caregiver. I agreed. But I was the one holding the interviews. The agency sent Maria first. She smelled like peppermint and wanted to throw out my books. She called them clutter. I let her go after 3 days. Then came Carl. He argued with the game show host on TV. I fired him too. Chloe watched me and smiled. She said, "You're interviewing them." I was. I needed a partner, not a warden. I called an old friend, Millie. She knew someone. a retired paramedic named Cora. Cora changed everything. She walked in, saw my blueprint on the table, and pointed. She said, "The elevator needs a secondary brake here. I installed one for my uncle." She didn't see an old lady's fantasy. She saw an engineering problem. We became a team. Leo built, Cora advised. I wrote the checks. For the first time, it felt real. I felt hopeful. Then Leo didn't show up. I called. His roommate answered, voice shaky. Leo was in jail. A fight. Bail was too high. My project just stopped. David said, "See, Mom, this is the problem with your plan." But I saw a good kid in trouble. I used my savings to post his bail. Sarah was furious. When Leo came to my door, ashamed, Cora just nodded at him. She said, "The brake assembly is here. Let's get to work." We did. We worked like crazy. The day the elevator worked, I cried. I rode it down to the kitchen. I felt victorious. Cora came 3 days a week. We checked my pills. We talked about Arthur and her husband. It wasn't care. It was friendship with a first aid kit. My kids stopped worrying so much. I thought I'd won. I was wrong. My body betrayed me. A small stroke. They called it a TIA. It made my left side clumsy. My words got slurred. Back in the same hospital bed. The same nice social worker. She said, "This is what we were concerned about." David and Sarah stood together. They said rehab, then Sunset Haven. My plans shattered. I couldn't even argue right. My voice was a mumble. I closed my eyes. I felt completely defeated. I opened them and Chloe was there. She held my good hand. She said, "Gran, the plan doesn't end. It adapts." She talked to everyone. Cora, the doctors, the rehab people. She had a new proposal. Hard rehab, then home with more help from Cora. She had studies and facts. She looked at my son and said, "Forced relocation increases mortality, Granddad." She called him Granddad. He looked like she'd hit him. They argued, but Chloe is a wall of calm logic. They agreed to a 30-day trial. Rehab was agony. I fought for every step. Cora visited and drilled me on my home systems. My physical therapist was a bully I learned to love. After 30 days, I walked into my living room with a cane. I showed David I could work all the new locks. He cried. Sarah hugged Cora first. That was the moment. They surrendered, not me. They gave up their fear. So I'm still here. The plan worked. It's Leo who now fixes my neighbor's gutters. It's Cora who drinks tea with me every morning. It's Sarah bringing groceries. David calling every Sunday. Chloe, my fierce general. The fight didn't end with a big bang. It ended with a quiet sigh. So if you're looking at those brochures, feeling that cold dread, don't just say no. Build, adapt, find your people. Your plan will be different, but make one. Fight to write your own last chapter in your own home. It's a fight worth having. So I'm still here. But you know what? The plan almost died right there in that rehab center. Because the real fight wasn't about grab bars or elevators. It was about trust. My kids didn't trust me. And honestly, after the stroke, I didn't really trust myself either. That's a scary feeling. You look at your own hand and it doesn't listen. You try to say toast and ghost comes out. How can you run a fortress when you can't command your own troops? The 30-day trial started. It was pure agony. My physical therapist, Linda, was a tyrant, a cheerful, smiling tyrant. She'd make me lift my leg 100 times. She'd make me say tongue twisters. She sells seashells. It came out, she shells, she shells. I wanted to throw my water cup at her, but I didn't. I saw Chloe's face, watching from the corner. She'd given me this chance. I couldn't let her down. Cora visited every other day. She didn't baby me. She'd pull out the blueprint for the house. Okay, Eleanor, the emergency shutoff for the elevator. Where is it? I'd have to think, my brain moving through mud. Red button, hall closet. And the code to disarm the medical alert? Arthur's birthday. She drilled me like I was studying for a final exam. My life was the subject. David and Sarah visited too, but their visits were different. They watched me struggle to walk 3 steps, and their faces would just crumple. It was fear, pure, simple fear, and it made them angry. One afternoon, David snapped at Linda. Is this safe? She looks exhausted. Linda put her hands on her hips. Mr. Vance, your mother isn't made of glass. She's made of the same stubborn stuff you are. Now let us work. That us meant something. Linda, Cora, Chloe, they were my new team. My children were spectators, and that hurt. But it also made me fight harder. The big test was the home assessment. A nurse from the rehab would come to my house and see if it was safe for me to return. Chloe and Cora prepped me. We practiced the route from the elevator to the kitchen. We practiced locking the new deadbolts. The day before the assessment, Leo came over. He'd finished all the little jobs. He saw me practicing with my cane. He didn't say anything. He just went into the garage and came back with a piece of sandpaper. Then he smoothed down the edge of the kitchen counter I kept bumping into. No one asked him to. He just did it. That sanded edge felt like a vote of confidence. The nurse came. Her name was Janet. She had a clipboard. She made me show her everything. The bathroom, the elevator. She timed me. I was so nervous, my bad hand shook. I fumbled the deadbolt. Janet watched, her face blank. Then she said, "Show me again, Eleanor," slowly. I took a breath. I did it. Click. She sat at my kitchen table with her clipboard. David and Sarah were there, holding their breath. Janet looked at me. "The house is suitably adapted," she said. Then she looked at my children. "But the support system is what makes it viable. Are you prepared to be part of that system? Not as managers, as participants." Silence. Then Sarah spoke, her voice small. "What does that mean?" "It means," Janet said, "you bring groceries on Tuesday. You call every Sunday. You visit to play cards, not to inspect the dust. You trust the team she's built." She looked back at me. "And you, Eleanor, you have to use the alert button if you fall. No pride. Deal?" I nodded. My throat was too tight to speak. David let out a long, slow breath. He looked at the floor. Then he looked at me. "Okay, Mom," he said. "Okay, deal." That was the real victory, not the nurse's approval. That okay. It sounded like surrender. Theirs, not mine. We went home the next day. We went home the next day. And that's when it hit me, the cost. You see, I'd won. I was in my fortress. But the victory felt hollow because I looked around my quiet house and I realized what I'd lost. Not my independence. I'd kept that. I'd lost my role. My children saw me as a patient now, a project to manage. David's Sunday calls were checklists. Did Cora come? Is the alert system charged? Sarah brought groceries, but she'd scan the room for hazards, not look me in the eye. I was home, but I was alone in a new way. The hardest moment was a Tuesday. Cora was off. I decided to make Arthur's favorite stew. A simple thing. I got out the pot. My left hand, the clumsy one, couldn't hold the onion steady. The knife slipped. I cut my thumb. Not bad, but blood got on the cutting board. I stood there, holding my hand under the tap, and I just started crying. Not from the cut, from the onion. I couldn't even chop a damn onion. I was the queen of my domain, and I couldn't make stew. I sat at the table, wrapped my thumb in a paper towel, and I called Chloe. I didn't mean to. My finger just dialed. She answered, "Gran, everything okay?" And I said, "I can't chop an onion." My voice broke. She was quiet for a second. Then she said, "Okay, so don't chop it." I said, "What?" She said they sell them pre-chopped in the freezer section or use a food processor. Arthur's stew doesn't care about the shape of the onion, Gran. It just cares that you're making it. I cried harder then because she was right and because I hadn't even thought of that. My plan was all about the big things: elevators, brakes, legal packs. It never accounted for the onion, for all the tiny, stupid losses that add up to a different life. Chloe came over that night. She didn't bring a pre-chopped onion. She brought a small, simple food processor. She plugged it in. She put an onion inside. She pressed the button. It made a terrible noise. In 3 seconds, the onion was perfect little pieces. She dumped them into my pot. "There," she said. "Now you're cooking." I looked at that machine. It felt like a surrender. But then I looked at Chloe's face. She wasn't pitying me. She was solving a problem. Just like Cora with the brake system. Just like Leo sanding the counter. The plan wasn't about doing everything the old way. It was about finding new ways to do the things that mattered. That's when I really understood. The cost wasn't my pride. The cost was my old idea of myself, the woman who did everything alone. That woman was gone, the one who chopped onions without thinking. I had to let her go. In her place was someone who needed a machine and a team and a granddaughter to show her how to use it. It hurt. It still hurts. But that night, we ate Arthur's stew, and it tasted right. That stew tasted right. And that's when I knew the real work was just beginning. The work of letting go. I was so busy fighting for my independence that I confused it with total self-reliance. They're not the same thing. Independence is having the choice. Self-reliance is a stubborn, lonely pride. I had to trade a little of the second to keep the first. The onion taught me that. So did the safety pendant I now wear around my neck. It's not a leash. It's a ticket to stay. I press the button. Cora's voice comes through the speaker, and I get to stay in my kitchen. That's the deal. That's the adaptation. I was wrong about so much. I thought the enemy was my children, or the system, or the brochures on the table. The real enemy was time, and the only way to fight it was with other people. I thought building my fortress meant I could man the walls alone. But a fortress needs a garrison. Leo with his quiet repairs. Cora with her steady presence. Chloe with her fierce advocacy. Even David and Sarah, once they learned to put down their fear and pick up a bag of groceries without an inspection. I had to let them in, not as managers, but as part of the architecture. The plan wasn't a blueprint for a building. It was a blueprint for a community. and I was the foreman, not the sole laborer. Here's what I tell you. If you're my age and staring down that same cold dread, don't wait for the fall. Start the conversation now while your voice is still strong. Call your kids, your nieces, your sharp-minded granddaughter. Say, I want to talk about the last chapter, and I want to write it here. Don't make it a confrontation. Make it a collaboration. Bring your own ideas. Show them the loose rug, the steep step, the tub that's getting hard to climb out of. Ask for solutions, not permission. Be the project manager of your own life. And for God's sake, be practical. If you can't chop an onion, buy the damn food processor. That's not surrender. That's smart strategy. Holding on to the knife until you bleed is just vanity. Save your strength for the things that truly matter. The conversations, the memories, the stew that tastes like love. And to the children, the Sarahs and Davids who are reading this, listening to this, I see you. I know your fear. It comes from love. But you have to change its shape. Your parent is not a problem to be solved. They are a person to be partnered with. Don't perform care. Just be present. Bring the groceries and stay for a card game. Call to talk about the weather, not to check off a list. Trust the team they build, even if it's not the team you would have chosen. That young contractor with a past, he might be the one who sands the sharp edge off the counter. That outspoken granddaughter, she might be your best ally. Your job isn't to take over, it's to show up in a new way. It's the hardest, most loving shift you'll ever make. There is hope. It doesn't look like turning back the clock. It looks like this quiet morning with Cora sipping tea across from me, the sun on my own table. It looks like Leo stopping by to check the elevator, calling me Miss Eleanor, with a respect that warms my bones. It looks like Sarah laughing in my kitchen, finally relaxed. It looks like David's Sunday call, where he tells me about his garden, not my medication. The hope is in the adaptation. The hope is in the exhale. You still have time. Maybe not years of the old life, but now is enough. This season, with its compromises and its help and its different kind of strength, is still life. It is still yours. If this story meant something to you, if you saw yourself in my defiance, or in my children's fear, or in Chloe's stubborn hope, then do something with that feeling. Don't let it just fade. Share this, maybe with your sister who's worrying about your mom.